Welcome to what is undoubtedly my favorite episode of this series, Economy. Isafjordur is a very special town, both to me and in general, and part of its uniqueness comes from its source of income. We'll start off with some basic information concerning Isafjordur's industrial economy, then we'll move on to its residential economy, and we'll finally finish with its natural resources. Enjoy! Kerecis is an Icelandic biomedical company that's built its empire on the thing most integral to Iceland, cod. Today, it's been celebrated time after time because it's the first Icelandic unicorn, meaning it's a startup worth over $1 billion. Now, I obviously can't show you the inside of the production facilities, offices, or packing rooms, since those are all closely guarded secrets. What I can tell you, however, is a very simplified version of how Kerecis works. Fish are brought into Hnífsdalur, where they are filleted and skinned, and Kerecis simply takes the skins since they aren't used for anything else and would otherwise be thrown away. From there, the fish are descaled, sterilized, and then shipped to hospitals. Hospitals then use these skins as skin grafts to treat burn victims, diabetic patients with ulcers, amputees, basically anybody who has exposed wounds and the inability to heal. Prior to Kerecis, the industry standard had been the utilization of skin grafts from patients themselves and from pigs, but fish skin actually proved more successful than either of those options, since the omega-3 fatty acids within the skin facilitated healing and meant that the skins could be left in the wound to be integrated and then digested by the body after the wound has been completely healed. Exploiting this enormous hole in the skin graft market led to Kerecis becoming an extremely popular company, leading to their valuation now at $1.1 billion, and their recent acquisition by Coloplast, a Danish biomedical company. Kerecis originated in Isafjordur, it's headquartered in Isafjordur, and today Isafjordur is the only town with Kerecis production facilities. Isafjordur is, and has been since its founding, a fishing village, and today it's no different. 3 big fishing companies have major operations here, including HG, short for Hraðfrystihúsið Gunnvor, Arctic Fish, and Campi. HG is one of the largest fishing companies in Isafjordur, operating 3 fishing vessels, these being 1 trawler and 2 ice fishing vessels, with which they brought in 11 metric tons of fish in 2018. I tried to find more recent data, but I've unfortunately had no luck. I like to call them the Icelandic CIA because HG owns one of the 2 Kerecis offices, and on the second floor of one of the buildings they have 2 steel doors watched by a security camera. Something fishy, you could say.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Anyways, Arctic Fish is a salmon farming company founded in 2011, with operations only in the Westfjords. Legally, they can only farm salmon in the West and Eastfjords since the Icelandic government doesn't want the farmed salmon to mix and reproduce with the wild salmon, since that could seriously mess up the genetic chain of wild salmon. Otherwise, the company is pretty simple. In nearly every fjord of the Westfjords, you can find fish farms for Arctic fish, which look like circular pens in the middle of the water, sometimes multiple. Campi is a company that I couldn't find a lot of information about, but I can tell you for a fact that Campi is a shrimp farming company. The company has no website, so using various other sources, I found out that the company was formed in 1991 and originally used trawlers to catch fresh shrimp, but they quit the trawler business in 2014. In 2018, the company signed a contract to expand their factory, so it's safe to say that they're sticking around. Samskip and Eimskip are basically the same company, but with different names. Both are extremely large shipping companies with operations in a majority of European countries, but Eimskip has a larger history, being founded in 1914 compared to Samskip's founding in 1990. Eimskip has a far larger market share than Samskip, having 2/3 of the Icelandic shipping market compared to Samskip's 1/3. Here in Isafjordur, both have container yards and operate large warehouses, along with freezer houses and a sizable trucking fleet as well. It doesn't really matter which one you choose as a consumer, since both deliver and have headquarters in Reykjavik, but one is probably cheaper when it comes to specific package sizes. For Isafjordur, these shipping companies bring a hugely beneficial connection to Reykjavik, which is absolutely essential to the survival of Isafjordur, as well as making good money out of the deal. a win-win for all. As I said in episode 1, Isafjordur is in the perfect sweet spot for population, in my opinion, being large enough to interest all the major companies of Iceland. These amenities, among them Bonus, Netto, N1, Orkan, Opie, Húsasmiðjan, and many more, diversify the economy of Isafjordur while providing essential services to survive. In smaller towns surrounding Isafjordur, people will often drive to Isafjordur for various items. For many of the businesses, especially those that benefit from massive sums of people, such as Netto, tourism brings in massive sums of money. Speaking of tourism, it's no secret that Isafjordur is a hotspot, even if it's the only town where tourism isn't the largest industry. Isafjordur is uniquely suited to cruise ships, as the large and deep fjord waters are the only ones in the West Fjords where docking of major cruise ships is possible. Even then, it's not rare to see large ships anchored in the middle of the fjord because the ships are either too large or because there are so many docked already. On the average day, it's normal to see about 1 to 3 ships docked, and scores of tourists roaming the village. Occasionally, you might see more than 3 ships, and sometimes over 7,000 tourists and cruise ship crew roam the village. At a population of only 2,700, Isafjordur simply can't keep up with this supply demand, and so there is definitely not enough for everybody. What happens most often is that businesses cater to this tourism, since it's essentially free money, causing the tourists to overconsume the resources of Isafjordur and leave little for the locals. This is actually a huge point of contention for the locals, since some believe it's a good thing, but others dislike the ships entirely. Either way, businesses benefit, but the locals don't. Located on the absolute innermost part of the fjord, called Engedal, is the Isafjordur recycling plant. Here, just about every recycling group is represented, and there's even a section for second-hand items where items in good condition can be left and be collected by others who can use them better. The plant was built in 2021 with the Terra Group, known for their dominance of the Icelandic recycling industry. I'm not sure of the finances considering the plant or how much material passes through, but given that it's still in business, it must be turning a profit, and thus helping the area around it. When I visited the plant, I saw large docking spaces for trucks as well as a weigh station, so the plant is definitely equipped to handle massive trucks worth of recycling. While I don't know for sure, it can be said that the recycling plant serves as a hub for other recycling centers in the neighboring towns around Isafjordur. Iceland is known internationally as a volcanic country, and with that reputation also comes geothermal energy. Geothermal energy is a renewable source known only by mainland Iceland, since hot water wasn't discovered in the West Fjords until just about a month and a half ago, when a hot water spring was discovered. Prior to this discovery, water was actually centrally heated and then distributed to households accordingly. Normally, Icelandic households don't have a hot water heater, so this measure was absolutely necessary to ensure people had hot water. In the future, it's likely that this hot water will be distributed to houses since electricity is taken care of by a nearby hydroelectric plant. Hydroelectric plants produce electricity not just for Isafjordur but also for the nearby fjords of Flöteri, Þingeyri, Bolungarvík, and Suðureyri, and anybody else that needs it really. Naturally, being hydroelectric power, it's dirt cheap, costing just 6.83 Icelandic kronur, or just a few cents per kilowatt hour, compared to the US average of 16.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Even the cheapest electricity in the US is still over 2 times as expensive as Iceland, at 11 cents per kilowatt hour. The company that manages these resources is called Orkubú Vestfjarðar, and they control 60% of the electricity production facilities in the West Fjords, as well as having operations all over mainland Iceland. You'll notice that this video was pretty short this time. That's because Isafjordur's income is actually pretty simple. Fishing makes up the greatest economic income, followed by tourism. While it might seem small, the income is enough to sustain Isafjordur and fund new development projects, spurred by the increasing number of tourists. Well, that's all for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed watching this, and perhaps you learned a thing or two as well. The next episode that I'll be putting out will be on the tourism and culture of Isafjordur, an episode that I'm sure many people are looking forward to. It'll be out soon, in just a few days or so check in once in a while. Thank you for watching.